All right, here we are back for more punishment. This is the multi-step equation. It can be a two-step equation. It might be a two-step equation, but it might end up being just a little bit more. So multi-step equations, we're still looking at what's happening in the situation. We're still analyzing what we need to do and what we need to solve for, but we have a couple of extra steps that we may have to follow to get there. All right? And just like before, there's that combine like terms idea that we need to figure out first, because that's usually what's happening in a multi-step equation. There are multiple whole numbers that are being added or subtracted, or multiple variable values that we need to deal with to get to our two-step or one-step equation, so that we can actually use these two rules and get to the end. All right, so here's our first example. I have another example that I'll show you in a minute. This is just a simple idea. Combine the like terms. Well, okay, combining like terms is just like solving a two-step equation, except I'm solving for one single variable. So my combining like terms for me is finding out which look exactly alike, which look alike, which have an x hanging off the back, and which have no variable whatsoever. So I'm going to underline my variable values, and then I'm going to underline those other things. And if we wanted to just combine like terms, we would end up just solving a two-step, a two or three-step equation. But I just want to focus on getting just my variable values together. If I'm going to solve for x, I want to have all my x's on one side. And so how do I undo that? Well, I have to show the opposite of 3x, right? I have to do the opposite of 3x. There's a 3x here, and it's being added to 11. If we switch the order, it would be 11 plus 3x. So I can subtract 3x, from both sides. I'm going to get rid of this red underline because it looks eerily like a division symbol. So I'm going to just do it like this, and I'm going to do my vertical math because horizontal math is so darn confusing. Plus 3x minus 3x, that gives me nothing, right? 4x minus 3x gives me one lonely little x. Now, what's left over there is a plus 2. And I'll bring it straight down and put my equal sign in. Now, 0 plus 11 is just 11, right? Because this became a 0. That's why I put the slash through it instead of the 1 through it. The slash through it tells me that it cancels it out and becomes 0. So now I have just a single step equation, right? And I can do whatever needs to be done to get this guy all by himself. And while I want to rewrite it and do the math, I don't have enough space, so I'm just going to cheat and subtract the 2, because that gets this all by itself. Subtract the 2 again, because I need my equation to stay balanced, and x ends up equaling 9. If I wanted to see if that worked out, I'd put a 9 in on both sides and see if it worked out. And I'm doing it in my head, so it's 38 and 38. Works out pretty well. All right, so that's the first part of it. And then there was another equation that was a little bit different, but it was part of your work. Sorry, my phone's not opening up. It was part of your work on the quiz that we just took. So here's the second example. The second example was x plus 3x plus 6 equals 90 degrees, right? We had the two angles in the triangle that it was in a right triangle, and so these two angles had to equal 90 degrees because we were in a right triangle. We knew that the sum of the angles in the triangle was 180, and we just wanted to go ahead and find what's left over after we knew that one of the angles was a right angle. So just like before, I'm going to go through the steps. The first step is if there are multiple variable terms, I want to put them together somehow. And so x plus 3x is 4x plus 6 equals 90 degrees. Well, okay, now I'm set. I'm actually in a very good spot. I'm going to move it up just a little bit just to give myself enough room to be able to get to that rewrite. So I know I've combined those to be 4x plus 6 equals 90. And I'm going to subtract the 6 because that's my next step. Undo the addition or subtraction. And 6 was being added to my variable value, so I'm going to undo that. And 90 minus 6 is 84. So 84 equals 4x, or 4x equals 84. It doesn't matter, you can switch them around and everything's exactly the same. I'm going to rewrite here, and I'll write my answer up on top. And then my next step is to undo that multiplication like I've done before. I've used division. 4 divided by 4 is 1, so I have 1x left over, and I'm going to write it up here. And 84 divided by 4, believe it or not, and you already found it, is 21. And that's it. Those are the real interesting or difficult or regular types of equations that you're going to find in your geometry class, in our geometry class that we're going to get through for the rest of the year. And if there's anything more difficult, I'll give you some catch-up work on that too. All right, so thanks for watching. I hope this helped you out. I hope it gave you a base. I hope you wrote it down or can still access this and get used to doing the same thing over and over again. Please let me know if you want some extra work on this just to feel comfortable in your equation solving.